From UFOs to psychic powers and government conspiracies, history is riddled with unexplained events. You can turn back now, or learn the stuff they don't want you to know.
Hey guys, this is Chase calling from Seattle, Washington, and I was interested listening to your K-pop episode about, because you mentioned Britney Spears, and a lot of people have been talking recently on the internet about Britney Spears' conservatorship. I think that's the word. The control that she's been placed under since her breakdown in 2008, and the lack of control she has over her finances and her life. It's being brought to light recently because of her somewhat coded post she made on Instagram calling for a general strike in a way that is a huge risk for herself. And I think this would be a really interesting thing for you guys to look into. Whether or not you do an episode, it's just a fascinating look at the music industry in America and what happens to our own pop stars. All right. Hope you all are staying safe, and have a good one.
Awesome. Thanks for writing in, Chase. This is an episode that we thought about exploring in the past, and I agree. It's illustrative of so many problems in the entertainment industry, similar to some of the things we explored in our episode on the dark side of K-pop. I also wrote down boy bands because the manager of several boy bands could get an episode of his own. He's kind of a monster. Britney Spears is still under conservatorship right now, right? She's in her late 30s.
That's right.
She's an extremely lauded, multi-millionaire superstar, basically, but she still has that conservatorship. I believe it's her father, right? That's the one who controls everything.
That's the main one, and I feel like there's been a change in some of that arrangement where there was a gentleman that was handling parts of it, of the business side of things, that quit very abruptly, and that's a big part of the whole conspiracy angle of this whole thing.
Andrew Wallet.
That's right, which is a great name for someone who controls somebody else's money, by the way. Mm-hmm. Andrew Wallet. That's pretty fantastic. But yeah, Ben, could you speak to his part in this, and maybe how his departure kind of led to some of the speculation that there was something kind of rotten in Britneyville?
Yes. So here's what we know to be true. Britney Spears' father, James Spears, Jamie to his friends, was appointed a co-conservator in 2008, along with that lawyer, Andrew Wallet. Andrew Wallet has, to your point, Noel, since resigned. I want to say in September of 2019, Jamie Spears temporarily stepped aside, or apparently, the media believed, due to his own health issues. And the questions about who controls what in this person's life. She's clearly an adult. She's earned this stuff. Shouldn't she be able to be the sole decider of what she does with her fame, her wealth, and her influence? Well, that's the origin of the hashtag Free Britney, right? The idea that she was being held against her will, and that her father and some co-conspirators were making money off the estate, but making her live like a prisoner in her own home. This really upset the father, by the way. He referred to the Free Britney thing as a conspiracy theory, but he does admit there's a conservatorship, and he specifically said, there was a quote from just this month, actually, wherein he said, all these conspiracy theorists don't know anything. The world don't have a clue. It's up to the court of California to decide what's best for my daughter. It's no one else's business.
Yeah, and it's interesting. There's a podcast called Britney's Gram, where these two comedians, Tess Barker and Barbara Gray, talk about Britney's Instagram posts. Britney, in the past handful of years, has become very, very active on Instagram, as she's been largely kind of isolated in her home, and it's become even more active during COVID. A lot of yoga videos and dance videos, and just her kind of musing on things. And I follow it, and it's a pretty delightful account. She just has this kind of way about her that's very human. She comes off a little, I don't know, like she strikes me as the type of person that's been famous for a very, very, very long time. And I'm not saying that like she comes off as like inhuman, quite the opposite. She seems like someone who's handled this in a relatively even-handed way. And she obviously loves to dance and loves to perform, but doesn't seem to be particularly crazy about all of the other things that go along with it. And those other things, by the way, are an estimated $57 million in assets that are at stake here, or under this supervision of this conservatorship, and I think $2.7 million in cash. But on that Britney Spears Instagram podcast, Britney's Gram, the host actually received a anonymous phone call earlier this year from someone, a paralegal, that claimed to be familiar with the situation with Andrew Wallet and the conservatorship, and he spoke to some potentially abusive behavior and the idea that she was basically being forced to take medication that she didn't want to take. They weren't specific about it, but there are some instances of her appearing kind of drugged up in certain public appearances or in certain like videos that have been posted, etc. And it's this idea that she went off her meds, whatever those might be, and then her father, or in conjunction with the conservator, forced her to check herself into a mental health facility in January. And they point to, Britney likes these emojis. It's very clear when she's the one posting on her account. And there was a post that was quite clearly not from her. It used emoticons instead of emojis, and that was a big red flag to the sleuthy hosts of the Britney Gram podcast that it wasn't her and that something was amiss. And now she's back to posting regularly and seems fine, but it's very interesting. You're right, Ben. It really rubbed her father, Jamie, the wrong way when all of this stuff was out, and he called it a conspiracy theory and said that, he was just doing what's best for his daughter. But there is a lot of money at stake and a lot of potential for abuse when someone maybe isn't fully there or able to make those decisions. And that's what's kind of, and so basically now there's the ACLU is getting involved. They're saying they support Free Britney movement, the idea that she should get out from under this conservatorship, that she should be able to make her own decisions, and that it is potentially a negative situation. There were a few instances where users had pointed out, like someone had posted on her Instagram comments, if you need help, wear yellow in your next post. And then sure enough, she wore a yellow top in her next post. Right. So, it's a lot of grist for the conspiracy mill here for sure. But I don't know. It's interesting because it does speak to that whole idea of kept pop stars, keeping them under lock and key, making sure they don't do anything to, turn off the money faucet. I don't know. Like,
doesn't just happen to pop stars. Where's Ted Turner? When's his last public appearance?
Oh, he's hanging out with Kim Jong-un somewhere.
But what, to your point too, I think we should portray the other side of this too. Yes. If you want to be involved, there is a change.org petition that has more than 100,000 signatures right now. They are claiming that Britney Spears is not allowed to drive. All of her communications are monitored. She can't vote. She needs permission to spend any amount of money. And if the threat, the control mechanism, at least according to these folks, is the threat of having her children taken away. Mm-hmm. And, the concern for people who believe in this Free Britney idea is that her father and the business manager that works with, I guess, the entity of Britney Spears, Lou Taylor of TriStar Sports and Management, that they are embezzling from her. And the father says that's untrue. But I think you're right. I mean, maybe this is an episode.
Yeah, I think it is.
Maybe we can get Britney Spears herself on the show.
Well, she certainly isn't leaving the house very much, except for doing yoga on the beach